Okay, thanks for coming back. My name is Dan Live, and you can call me Dan Go. And we've been talking about shading the last couple of times we met. We shaded a sphere and a cube, and now we're going to continue with a cylinder, which will probably lead us to doing a cone as well. So let's get started. So here's a reminder on how to draw a cylinder. Uh, here's how we draw a circle. We start with a square. We find the center of that by connecting the corners. And now we've found the middle of the square. We can put a vertical line and a horizontal line on that. And then we just connect those midsections. And we've got our circle. If I create the illusion of a square laying on a table using this parallelogram, then I can also connect those corners, and that still gives me the center of the square. And then I'm going to use a slightly darker shade so we can see what we're doing. I'm drawing a circle inside, and now it's a circle with perspective. It's like a circle that's laying right down on the table. I can get rid of all those lines. So the circle that's laying on a table is actually an oval. So really we just had to draw an oval, but just wanted you to see how we can think about these shapes. I'm going to draw an oval on top, and then we connect them. We've got our cylinder. If I wanted to look up at the cylinder, then I would erase this line in the back. And now it looks like I'm looking up, and I can tell that I would need to round that out. And then it looks more like a cylinder that I'm looking up at. If I wanted to look down on the cylinder, then I would simply erase this line. And now I'm looking down at it. So let's start. I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to draw another cylinder. Oh, and let me also say the reason I said we could draw a cone as well is because basically a cone is the same thing. So if I have a line that goes straight up, I'm going to do the same thing here. And that's my cylinder. But I could also have a smaller circle on top. And you can see where this is going. It's still a cylinder, it's a cone, but it's the same idea. And we can make these cones pointy by making them tall, or we can make them very short. But it's the same idea. That looks like a lampshade right there. Or I could have a very small circle, or I could make it such a small circle that it's a point. And now I've got my cone. So the technique that we use to shade, you can now use that to shade a lampshade or a tree or whatever shape that you come up with. This could be a face, and we would use the same principles for shading. So let's draw our cylinder, and I'm going to draw or start with our circle. We've got another circle above it. And we will connect those lines. And as we said before, it's important that you know where your light source is. So I'm going to draw a I'm going to put a horizon line as though this cylinder were sitting on top of a table. So we just need to get rid of that line. There we go. And we need to know where the light source is coming from. So I'm going to pick that same source as we did for the cube that we drew. And we're looking down on the cylinder, so we're going to get rid of this line. It's usually once I erase that I see that we need to round out the bottom, because this is a circle, but it's just at an angle that we can't see. All right. So as we said before, when we drew the cube, the light source, if the light is coming from there, it's going to be the brightest closer to the light, and it's going to go a little bit darker as it works its way from the light. If the light source were coming straight down, well, then the whole plane would be bright. But let's go back to the cylinder. It's coming at an angle, which means that we want to have some gradation. And so I'm going to just put a couple of layers here as it gets darker further away from the light source. For the cylinder, we're going to break this up. We talked about this front plane being in shadow, so we could just drop some shade there, and then this plane would be even darker away from the light source, and there would be some gradation there as well, but we're going to think about that for the cylinder as well. Every time I draw a vertical line here, what I'm trying to describe is that these are planes, and they're a lot smaller than the big plane on the cube, but they are planes. So this plane in the front, we'll just call 1. We're going to label it all the way across. 6. Okay. So 1 is going to be most likely the brightest, but I'm not going to make it white. I'm going to go with gray. And then that gives us freedom to add a highlight if we need to. So we've got our gray. We'll make it a little bit darker as it's wrapping around the cylinder. It's going to get progressively darker. And then as it works its way to the back, chances are more than likely that there is some bounce light either from the table or from the ceiling or from the wall that might be over here back on the cylinder over here. So I'm going to go with the same level of shading that I had for 3. And that's how we would think about this. I'm going to sample 1, and I'm going to put that here. 2 will go here, and then 3 is going to go here. And I'm going to add another layer here because it should be gradual. Now I do want to have a little more of a contrast. So I'm going to go to this one and I'm going to go even darker. And I'm going to sneak that in here. And then we'll lighten it up as it works its way back this way. And it just keeps getting lighter. And it's good to have some contrast. If you don't have much of a gradation, then it really, you're not helping. It doesn't look like a lot is happening. In other words, it should go from light to dark and then light again at the very end. And if there's not much of a change, then it just doesn't really look like anything's happening. You're not helping define the shape. I'm just getting rid of all these guidelines and our labels. And then for that very edge, that's where I'm going to go the lightest. And that's why I like to start with dark or gray, because then it gives us freedom to lighten up as we need to. And then I just want to clean up this line. So now we want to draw the shadow as well. And so here's how we can think about that. I'm going to pick this tone here, and I'm going to have it come out this way. And then I'm going to add an oval, which represents this edge. And then we can get rid of this area here. And I'm going to go with the very lightest shade that we had and just drop that in. And then it's going to, I'm going to go ahead and just go over that. And then it's going to get darker as it works its way in. And then we're just going to keep going darker as we get closer to the cylinder. All right, we're going to go keep working our way, getting it a little bit darker as we go. And then as we get right up to the cylinder, that's where we want to have that area of inclusion. Yeah, I'm sorry, occlusion, which is where like no light is getting in there. So we're even going to go darker than our darkest dark, right up on the edge there. And that really helps the cylinder look as though it's right on the table. And then we're just going to do one more thing here. I'm going to get rid of some of these arrows. So we've got our tabletop. And I just want to we're going to darken the background just to see how that looks. And that just helps helps the cylinder stand out just a little bit more. So now that I've got that as dark as I do, I would want this darker part, the darkest part of the cylinder, to be even darker. So let me just see if I can lighten up the backdrop a little bit, and that looks a little bit better. All right, so we're gonna do one more, and let me just see how long we've been going. Okay, I think we can sneak in one more. And I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn all these off. Yeah, we'll keep that one. No, we won't. Get rid of that. Okay, let me close some more windows. Okay, good. So we're going to do one more, and this time we're going to use color. I'm going to use this teal color, and we're not going to draw a cylinder, we're going to draw a cone. And let's see, I'm going to have it floating. So we've got our cylinder here, our oval, and we're going to be looking up at it. So you don't have to draw this every time. It's up to you. It's just if it helps, but an oval is just fine. So now I'm looking up at the cylinder. I'm going to have my light source here, which means this area on the bottom is going to be pretty dark. And I'm trying to think if I want to add some kind of I'm going to try adding a different background. We're going to try this neon yellow. This could be a really bad idea, but that's all right. All right, so I've got the neon yellow. And now I'm going to come back and get my color here. And I'm just going to lighten that up a little bit. So I'm going to fill in the bottom of that cylinder. And now with the, I keep calling the cylinder, it's a cone. With the cylinder that we did draw, we broke it up into planes, and they were vertical all the way across. And it would be lighter on this side, darkest here, and then maybe a little bit lighter as it works its way that way. Now for the cone, we're not going to use vertical lines. We're going to have, so our divisions will be about the same. However, they are going to move with the cone. So they're more like triangles rather than, rectangles going straight across. And it's the same idea. So I'm going to leave this one alone for a moment. It's going to be the yellow of the background. We will probably change that. But now I'm going to go Let's see. We're going to fill in that. And we're just going to keep working our way to where it's darker. I think I'm going to go just a little bit darker here as it works its way across. And it's more of a green, and the reason for that is because I've got a yellow background atmosphere, and so I'm just assuming that that's going to be bouncing on. I'm going to draw, we're going to draw straight across, and this is going to be the tabletop. I'm just going to make that black. So that would also affect these colors, these darker colors that we're seeing. So I would want to, if I've got, let me redraw that. If I've got my light source is coming from here, then I'm going to have a gradation going across this cylinder cone. Okay, so I'm just going to draw some lines this way. And so far, this is my darkest color, and I'm going to make it just a little bit darker. And we'll put that right here on the edge, because it's going to be receiving a lot of darkness coming from below. And then we're going to lighten it up and work our way back to the other side. Then I just want to clean this up. Yeah, this was maybe a bit much, but it was kind of fun, so I don't regret it. I'm just not sure that this is as accurate as it should be. Probably would have been better to just go stick with the black and white, but that's all right. We're having fun. Just gonna get rid of some of these guidelines. So this should read as a cone that we are looking up at. Getting rid of all these guidelines. And it connects from the edge of the oval all the way to the point, getting narrow as it goes up. And this bottom area is not as gradual as it should be. We have another guideline here. So what I'm going to do is try to just kind of mute it a little bit. All right, I hope that makes sense. So we're going to come back to this last part, and I'm going to make it even brighter. And then we could even add a highlight that would be more of this yellow. Or not. Let's try that again. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use the opacity. If we were painting, we would just want to make sure we took the time to mix the colors so that they were right. But that's the main point of today was I wanted to show you how we could draw the cylinder using shading, shade the cylinder and shade the cone. And when you introduce color, that's a whole nother subject, but one that I enjoy playing with. So thank you for joining me. I hope that was helpful. If you'd like to see some of my artwork, you can go to dango.art. And if you have any questions, just leave me a comment and I'll be happy to address that in the future. I should be back tomorrow. I'll see you next time.